Hey everyone, welcome to episode 2 of the Legal Paige podcast. This is the first ever guest feature, and today I am chatting with boss lady, certified public accountant, Brittany Suttle from Britt and the Benjamins, who loves helping female entrepreneurs manage their finances. She's a lover of carbs, hiking, and all things numbers. Do you want to get to know more about taxes in your business? Stay tuned. You're listening to the Legal Paige podcast, where we chat about life and business with a legal twist. I'm Paige, attorney and photographer helping online businesses and creatives tackle their business dreams without breaking out in hives. No more legal mumbo jumbo. This podcast features simple, bite-sized advice that'll have you legally legit in no time. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, Britt. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for joining the Legal Podcast. I am just so excited that you're here and to tell your story and to share your insight about taxes with our listeners.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here and share all that. I know taxes, especially this time of year, are a hot topic for everyone as they're trying to get their returns filed and get as much money back as possible. So I want to help everyone out with that.
Yeah, definitely. So all of you listeners, I met Britt through some courses that we were working on together, and she has just been a valuable resource for me to bounce ideas off of for taxes and the legal stuff and all of the in-betweens and how those kind of interact together. And I thought that she would be so cool for you to hear from today because, as Britt said, taxes right now are definitely something that's going on until April at the beginning of the year. Dun, dun, dun. And so, yeah, Britt, I know I already introduced you earlier, but to all of the legal pagers listening, why don't you just tell them what you do and why you do it?
Yeah, so I am a CPA, which is a certified public accountant. It means I took a lot of tests to basically be an accounting guru. And I run a company called Britt and the Benjamins. And I really, through that company, I help female entrepreneurs manage their finances and then also help them build scalable businesses and not necessarily just another job. Because a lot of times I think we transition out of full-time work and then we work in our business, and then I help them take them to the next level where we're leveraging time and money to expand the team and really grow a business that has a big impact. So I have been working in this industry for 10 plus years, went to school for it here in Indianapolis, where I live now with my husband. And yeah, I've just really been ramping up this year and bringing on a lot of new clients. And I'm so excited to be on today to share all my knowledge because I love to talk money. I know it's kind of taboo for some people, but I talk it all the time.
Yeah, definitely. And entrepreneurs, we all like to talk money, but it's really good as entrepreneurs because sometimes we're just creators and we forget about the financial part of our businesses and how important it is. And you touched on something that I just want to extrapolate on a little bit here. So like finances, how do you consult with the clients that you work with? And what is like one of their biggest struggles with their finances that you help with?
Mm-hmm. So it really depends a lot person by person. So a lot of people struggle with just managing it in general and understanding it, and just setting up the system and the processes to make it easy. Because to be honest, most people don't build a business to just do their bookkeeping and accounting. And we want to make sure that's easy and it's in the background so that they can focus on what they love to do and building their business. So that's one piece. And then on the flip side, it's also those people who don't necessarily know how to take what they're bringing in and really leverage it into more and to get that growth and that bigger impact. So that's kind of the other side. That's more of the financial coaching So the other piece, a little more bookkeeping, tax, a little more of the technical piece. And then there's the coaching side where we really try to leverage and grow your profit and build it into this business for you.
Awesome. And so say an entrepreneur, somebody that's listening to the podcast right now is like, oh my gosh, this sounds like something I need. I don't like bookkeeping and I know nothing about what to do with my finances.
Right.
What would you say is like just the first step for them to reach out to someone like you, a financial consultant or a CPA, if they're scared to reach out to people that, have a little bit more insight? Because I get that a lot as an attorney, right? So people are like, I don't even know what legal questions to ask.
Yes.
Yeah. So like what questions should they be asking themselves to get to the point where they're ready to work with someone like you?
I would just say really define what your goals are first. So is it you're trying to build more time? You're trying to build more profit into your business? Where are you trying to get to? And I think conveying that to someone who you want to work with, who could help you get to that point, that's going to be most important. Because if I know where you want to go, you may not know the right questions to ask, but I know kind of the path to get from where you are to where you want to be within my avenue of finances and all of that. And also don't be scared. I think we're all a little bit scared to say, I don't know. And do not be scared to say, I don't know. I don't know a lot of things. I literally had to look up how to cut kale the other weekend. Because I was like, do you leave the stem on? Do you not? I don't know. And I was making a salad for Valentine's Day. And I was like, this is going to sound stupid. And one of my best friends is like this great cook and she's vegan and she does all this stuff. I was like, she would be so disappointed in me. But, I don't know. Like, I am not a great cook. I'm not a great photographer. I'm not necessarily great at marketing. And I know that. And that's not bad because we can't be everything and we can't know everything. And that's okay. So if you don't know necessarily a lot about your finances or your money or what you should be doing, what you should be tracking, what you should be looking at, that's fine. Be honest about it. Tell me your goals and we'll figure out how to get there.
That's wonderful for people to hear. I think anyone that's in a position of owning their own business just really thinks about, starting it up, making sure their income and expenses are coming in and out and everything's like kind of itemized and they're really only worried about taxes. So that's wonderful to hear that you offer this, consulting for people and just helping people see the bigger picture on when they get that income and they subtract all of their expenses from that. You're able to come in and really talk about, okay, so how can we leverage the rest of the profit that you have that's coming into your bank account? So if any of you are out there listening, Britt is a great resource for that. But it's definitely time to talk about what you're here for, which is taxes and deductions.
Everyone's favorite topic.
Everyone's favorite topic. So tax season is here. It's the beginning of the year. It comes every year. That's just a reality, right? We have to die and we have to pay taxes, as my grandpa says. So with that comes a lot of anxiety for business owners. We don't have time for taxes, right? That's usually, it's like this time suck and confusion. So Britt, can you just start by telling people about what the common mistakes are from small business owners when it comes to tax deductions specifically?
Yeah. So with tax deductions, what I see the most are these three things. One is they don't take the deductions that they should. Two is they take something they shouldn't and risk getting penalized later. And three is either they don't fully understand how they're taxed, so they either overpay or they underpay on their estimated taxes, which is those quarterly taxes you have to pay as an entrepreneur each year. Or maybe they don't pay them at all because they don't know that they should, which is also not good because you could get penalized for that. So those really are the three most common mistakes I see. And one big thing that always comes up, and I always want to make sure that people know, is as a sole proprietor or LLC or partnership or S Corp, please, please, please know you are not necessarily taxed on the amount of money that you pay yourself. So the distributions you take out of your company, you're not taxed on that. You're taxed on your company's profit. So for example, let's say you make $100,000 this year, you have $50,000 in expenses, but you only pay yourself $30,000. A lot of entrepreneurs, especially new entrepreneurs, think that you're only taxed on the $30,000 you actually put in your pocket. That's wrong. You're actually taxed on the $50,000 in profit that you made that year. So you want to make sure that you are paying your estimates and calculating all that based on that profit, not on what's coming into your bank account.
Oh, that's so interesting. So everyone knows that your business is going to be taxed, right? That's what you kind of just went over, the 3 steps.
Except if you're Amazon. Did you see that?
Yeah, just kidding.
They're just pulling magic tricks. But anyways, keep going. Sorry, Diane.
Some businesses we're not sure about if they're getting taxed or not, or what they're what their auditors are doing for them. But it's really, we're going back to deductions here, because I think this is a really good step-by-step approach for business owners to conceptualize. So even if TurboTax is doing their taxes, or their accountant in their hometown is doing their taxes, or they hire someone, that online to do their taxes, they can really think about, right? Like all year long, these certain deductions that are so important for small business owners. And so I just wanted to go over kind of these top deductions that you want people to focus on. And then let's just go kind of one by one through these so that people can understand how they can think about them throughout the year.
Perfect. Yeah. So a lot of the ones that I get questions on are like a home office or your vehicle, meals, entertainment, clothes, especially as we get more and more influencers on Instagram. I'm trying to think, health insurance, retirement. I think those are some of the bigger ones that I typically get a lot of questions on, and how they work and all of that. So we can start at the top with a home office. So typically, most entrepreneurs work from home. If you do work from an office space, if you're renting it out, if you're part of a co-working spot, obviously you can deduct that full expense. But let's say you're not paying for it, you've got a separate room in your house. You can deduct the costs of that, and there's 2 ways to do it. So you can do it in the simplified method, which is basically you take the square footage of your office space in your home. And let me preface it by saying that this space has to be, it's your primary place of business. So you can't have a co-working space and take the home office deduction.
That's a great point for people.
Yeah. So it has to be your primary place of business, and it cannot be a shared space per se. So you can't necessarily have a guest bedroom / home office and take that as your deduction. So if you do have a dedicated space for your office, then the simplified method basically states take the square footage of that space times $5, that's your deduction. So if you have a 10 by 10 room, that's 100 square feet times $5, it's $500 deduction straight to the bottom line for you.
Oh, that's wonderful. No, I think just all of those little tidbits that you just told all of the listeners about, just make sure that you're not, sharing this office space and that you're using it. If I was listening in, I'd be like, okay, Britt, so what percentage do I really need to be in my home office? Do you ever get that question?
It's really so, as long as it's your primary place of business, it's not necessarily that you have to be there, let's say like 60% of the time. If that's primarily where you're working from, then it will qualify as a home office. Yes, you can go to Starbucks. You can go to, I don't know, another like free Wi-Fi place and work from there. And maybe you do that 2 days a week and you work in your home office 2 days a week. You can still take that deduction because you are using that as your primary place of business. Starbucks isn't really a place of business for you.
Right. Yep. Awesome. That's so good to hear. And I'm sure lots of you listening in are right in that boat. We go to coffee shops and we also have a desk in an office space somewhere in our house.
So true.
It's not like a room and it's just a dedicated area of, say, someone has a studio apartment. So there's no walls. Are they able to take any part of that as their home office?
Yeah, but you really have to designate the square footage of that area. So it probably will be fairly small, but you can still do it.
Perfect.
Sure. Just make sure you're able. The whole thing is, if you were audited, is it reasonable to say that this space was your home office? And if you can prove that, then you're good to go.
Wonderful. Yeah. So those people might have a little bit more like a 4 feet by 4 feet space versus a big old room.
So it won't be as high of a deduction, but you can still get something.
Okay, awesome.
Also, that's one method. Sorry, don't mean to cut you off. You can also take your costs, so like your utilities and so like electric, water, gas, all of that stuff, and allocate it based on the percentage of your office square footage to your entire home. So that's another method you can use for your home office deduction. It's just a little more complex, but sometimes that does result in a higher deduction. So it's always something to look into or ask your accountant to calculate.
Oh, that's such a good point. Yeah, I didn't even think about that, especially if you're having a little bit higher bills, right? And allocating them to a certain portion of your house. Okay, that's wonderful. I think everyone learned a little bit about home office spaces. I'm always wondering how to deduct those. I just tell my accountant to do it. So vehicles and like gas mileage and stuff for entrepreneurs.
Yes. So that works kind of the same way. So basically what you want to do is track your mileage throughout the year. And anything you use for business, you can take that times the standard mileage rate the IRS sets. So I believe it was 54.5 cents for 2018. And you take that times the miles you drove for business use only, and that's your deduction. But you can also do it to where, gas, repair costs, all of that, you can add all of that up and then allocate it based on the percentage you used your car for business versus personal. That requires a little bit more tracking because you do have to know how many miles you drove for business and personal and then allocate it out. But you can do it both ways there. But yes, any miles you drive for traveling to a client, going to get supplies, anything of that nature, those are business miles. So make sure you're logging those and tracking those.
So what would you say entrepreneurs need to do then? Easiest method possible for them to track how to deduct their vehicle and gas?
I would definitely just go with the simplified method. Track your business miles and take it times the standard rate. That's what I use. I have a real estate business on the side as well. And that's what we use for all of that because we drive quite a bit looking at houses and going to do repairs and all of that jazz. And there's apps that you can use to help you. Mile IQ, I know, is one that a lot of my clients use, and it's, I think, like $50 to $75 per year or something. So it's well worth it if you drive a lot of miles.
Oh, definitely. I've got all kinds of apps that people can use too. So if any of you are interested, Britt and I will give you a huge list.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, meals. Everyone's always wondering, can I deduct my food? What is the answer to that?
Yes. Okay. So it depends, our favorite answer. So the government treats meals, depending on what type of meal it is, very differently. So some you can deduct 100%, some 50%, some 0%. So real quick, we'll go through each of those. So anything you buy for yourself, like personal meals. So let's say you go and get a Starbucks coffee, not deductible, 0%. You cannot run it through your business. So just don't even think about it. Let's say that you are going, 2 states away to visit a client or out for a conference. So any meals during business travel, even if it's just you, those are 50% deductible. So if you spend $10, you can run all of that through your business, but just know at the end of the year, half of that is going to get removed from your tax return. So just FYI there. Now, so if you have employees and you reimburse them for meals spent while they travel, that's also 50% deductible. Any meals that you buy at business meetings for you and your employees, your clients are 50% deductible. Any like snacks or drinks or whatever that you have on hand at your office for employees are 50% deductible. But if you throw a holiday party for your staff, that's 100%. It can't just be you. So don't try to do that.
Don't have solo parties, people.
Right. I know. I love the ingenuity, but you can't. So any like holiday party or company picnic or whatever you want to call it, that's 100% deductible. So you can run all of that through your business. And then anything that you obviously sell, if you're in the food business, or if you provide it to the public for free. So you have a big open house, a grand opening, relaunch type of thing, that's 100% deductible. Okay. I think the last one is just meals as entertainment. So let's say you just take a client to a concert, you don't really discuss business, you're just out having a good time, you buy them some drinks or whatnot, you can't expense any of that either.
Okay. That's perfect. Seriously, that was you just simplified it for everyone because everyone's always wondering I think the general answer is it's 50% deductible for everything because everyone's like, let's just get the median here percent.
Right. Exactly.
So that's great. That's great to hear, especially with coffees, like Starbucks coffees. That's really good to know because I think lots of people put that on there.
I think so too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Don't. I would love if you could. I mean, we can put together a petition for the IRS, but as of now, we can't.
Okay, clothes. You talked about clothes. Yeah. What's the lowdown on deducting clothes?
Okay, I'm going to give everyone some bad news. You cannot deduct your clothes. I'm so sorry. I wish we could again. But typically they say that you can't, even if you're an influencer or fashion blogger, because you can also use that for personal use, and primarily you're going to use that for personal use. Now, I will say if it's a uniform, so let's say you go to a lot of trade shows or, like little like farmers markets or whatnot and sell your stuff, and you want you and your employees to look the same and you have the same apparel, you can definitely deduct that. That is an expense. If you have logoed items, those are all expense. But your typical clothes that you would go get at the mall or whatnot typically are not able to be deducted, unfortunately.
Right. So like a
Womp, womp, womp.
I know, womp, womp, sad face.
Yeah.
So like a photographer, for example, if they are just like buying clothes that they wear one Saturday for a wedding and say they always shoot in black dresses and they like to qualify it in their mind as a uniform, you would say, doesn't cut it?
Doesn't cut it. But I will say, I know of some photographers who buy clothing for their clients to use in shoots, especially for like maternity or things like that, so that they'll just have them on hand so that their clients can use them. That would be an expense to the business because you're not using it personally. You're using it as part of your business. But for clothes that you're wearing to shoots, no, that's typically not going to fly.
Okay. Wonderful. I like it when you just draw a line in the sand for people. Most people need lines in the sand, especially for these type of things.
Yes.
What about health insurance?
Okay, health insurance. So you're self-employed and you're not offered a employer-sponsored insurance plan through your spouse or significant other. So if they're offered one, you cannot take this deduction. But if neither of you are offered an employer-sponsored plan, then the health insurance premiums that you pay can be deducted. They're just deducted not on your income statement for your business. It's on page 1 of your individual tax return. So if you actually go out online and look at page 1 of your 1040 or just a 1040, the form, you will see there is a line item towards the bottom for self-employed health insurance, and that's where you would deduct that.
Okay, good to know. You can deduct it. That's pretty much what entrepreneurs need to walk away with because I know what a 1040 form is, but lots of other people that is.
Yeah. And if you also provide group health insurance, if you have employees and whatnot, that's obviously expensible through your business.
Okay.
So
that's great to know.
Yeah. That caveat too.
Yeah, no, that there's probably quite a few people listening that either have one employee or two employees, and that'd be good for them to know, even if they're thinking about offering health insurance in the future to those employees.
Exactly.
Okay, I think the last one that we have time for is retirement. I think you mentioned retirement.
Ooh. Yeah, retirement. Everyone's like light at the end of the tunnel, I guess. So retirement, it's kind of the same thing. So you can deduct your retirement contributions on page 1 of your 1040. And there are specific retirement plans, like tax advantaged retirement plans for entrepreneurs. And if you actually go to my website, and I'll give you all the details to that after this, but I have a whole post on what those plans are so that you can kind of look through each of them because there's different qualifications and some are better than others. But you do get the tax advantages that you typically see for someone who is employed by a corporation, which is nice. So you can still get those tax advantages and you can still deduct it as an expense on page 1 of your 1040.
Oh, that's wow. That's kind of mind-blowing for some entrepreneurs and business owners because I think the last thing we can think about at the end of the day is how to save for our future and retirement.
Right.
And this is a really good wrapping the bow up with what you talked about at the beginning because financial planning is so important. And so my question is, as I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, okay, Britt says that retirement can be deducted. When should I start thinking about saving and planning for retirement as a small business owner?
Yesterday.
That's the best answer. I love it.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be fully funding your retirement or putting a ton of money towards it because I completely get it. especially if you are just starting your business and you're trying to get off the ground running and expanding your team and growing your business, a lot of times you want to pour a lot of the money you're making back into your business as an investment. But that doesn't mean that you just completely ignore your retirement altogether. You still want to think about it and plan for it and make sure that that is a part of your plan and you have something set up and a goal in mind for all that. So it doesn't mean if you have not been contributing that you are behind the ball, that you're doing something wrong. Just really think about it, learn about your options, and then start building that into a strategy.
Yeah, I love that. Also because I've heard the term a bunch. A little goes a long way for retirement. And so when you start earlier, you can start planning for your future, and that little bit will go a lot longer if you plan earlier on in your lifetime. So just a tidbit, and all of you listening, Britt is going to give us a bunch of really awesome links for more information on retirement planning and financial planning. And I will link those in the show notes. But that's a really good, takeaway from this podcast episode altogether, is all of these deductions. But at the end of the day, we also need to be using our business to our benefit and plan for our futures. So Britt, thank you so much for joining us today. You were just like a bundle of information, and I think that people just got so many free minutes of CPA info. So thanks again. You've been awesome. How can people reach you? And I'll just make sure, like I said, to give this information to everybody.
Yeah, so it's pretty simple. You can go to my website, which is brittandthebenjamins.com, and that's Britt with 2 T's. And then you spell out and. So it's Britt, A-N-D, thebenjamins.com. You can email me at brittandthebenjamins@gmail.com, or you can find me on Instagram. That's typically where I live in the social sphere, at brittandtheb.
Wonderful. So, easy peasy for everybody. And again, everyone, I will link them. Britt, thanks so much for your time. Everyone, thanks for listening in. It has been a true joy to have you on, and we are all coming out of this as semi-tax gurus with more information on our tax deductions.
Woo!
See you later. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Legal Paige podcast. See, I told you being legally legit isn't so scary. Be sure to visit thelegalpage.com for all show notes. And it would be super awesome if you could head over to iTunes and leave a review. Last but not least, don't forget to join my free Facebook group for unlimited legal and biz Q&A. Chat soon, Legal Pagers.